Hello, my name is Gloria Gauron, and this is my presentation for my DBA research course on conducting a review of the literature. Specifically, this presentation will guide you through a review of the literature that exists on female entrepreneurship and financial literacy. The review of the literature is a step in the process of preparing my dissertation on the gender inequalities that exist between male and female entrepreneurs as it relates to financial literacy. For the introduction, I think it is important to highlight that there are gender gaps that have existed for centuries and some that exist to this day. In addition to gender gap in financial literacy skills, women have been impacted by social and systemic learning. And this is before women were allowed to attend school. They attended dame schools and seminaries to learn how to teach. Dame schools were meetings, if you will, that took place in the kitchen of older women to help prepare boys for the admission into town schools, which girls were not allowed to attend. Thus, this was the preparation for women to systematically be placed into a caretaking profession, which is still evident today. For educational attainment, once girls were allowed to attend the town school, they were segregated from the boys. However, much has changed since then. Through activism and legislation being passed, women have now surpassed men in educational attainment. As of 2020, 38% of the female population has achieved a four-year degree or more, compared to 36% of males. In political representation, while there has been progress made, it's been a long road. The first woman elected into Congress was in 1917 in the state of Montana, which was something short of a miracle, being the 19th Amendment was not passed yet, giving women the right to vote. Since that time, much progress has been made, and today the 117th Congress is comprised of 24 females in the Senate out of 100 and 120 females in the House of Representatives out of 435. Progress, yes, but there's still a long way to go. Another area that also has gender disparities is in the financial literacy sector, and the remainder of this presentation will be dedicated to the financial literacy gaps that exist between male and female entrepreneurs. So then we get to the problem. So why should there be a concern about financial literacy for female entrepreneurs? Well, in 2018, female entrepreneurs have contributed $1.8 trillion towards the US economy, and financial literacy as a whole contributes towards a healthier economy. The contributions that female entrepreneurs make has had a direct impact on reducing poverty. It has also been found that financial literacy is associated with a sustainable business. But what do we know about the financial literacy needs of female entrepreneurs? Current definitions of financial literacy vary as a whole. Testing one's financial literacy pertains to three areas, including numeracy skills, inflation, and risk. Is that all a female entrepreneur needs to know about how to run a successful business? If so, one would think the success rates would be much greater than they are. The government and private organizations provide financial services to female entrepreneurs to help lessen the gap. However, this research might be able to provide areas that are not currently being addressed that can aid in policy reform. The research can also aid current and future entrepreneurs to build a stronger bond to promote growth and lessen the fear of finance that is known to exist among women. Legislation is also being implemented in US schools to incorporate financial literacy education, since the rates are so low in the United States. This research can potentially help to develop curriculum for future entrepreneurs by providing them an earlier education on what is necessary to become an entrepreneur. Finally, the term financial literacy takes on many definitions, and this research might contribute towards a higher definition, a tighter definition designed specifically for a growing segment of the economy, female entrepreneurs. So this brings us to the research question. To be able to contribute to existing literature, assist with curriculum development, and lessen the gender gap, the research question is, What does financial literacy mean to female entrepreneurs? To help delve into the research question, a review of the literature has been performed, and according to Hart, reviewing the literature is a process that aids a researcher in distinguishing what has been done from what needs to be done, synthesizing the information that is already out there and gaining a new perspective, identifying relationships between ideas and practices, relating ideas and theory to problems and questions, and having a body of knowledge which you can relate to your own research findings. By reviewing what has already been researched on the topic, one can critique what has been published to date to find out if there are gaps in the literature that can help a researcher to make a new contribution to the topic. So the outline of the presentation will be as follows. It will begin with a chronological evaluation of the publishing and policies surrounding female entrepreneurship. I will expand upon the importance of financial literacy, which will be followed by the varying definitions of financial literacy to show how research thus far does not provide enough information to evaluate the topics of financial literacy that are important and necessary for female entrepreneurs. Following will be a slide on financial literacy and female entrepreneurs and how it pertains specifically to entrepreneurs to demonstrate its direct positive impact on business survival. And finally, there will be a slide on the gender gaps that exist between male and female entrepreneurs as it relates to financial literacy. So we'll begin with the study of female entrepreneurs. The gender gap in entrepreneurship can be found in the late presence of academic literature on female entrepreneurs, in which the first academic paper was written on the topic in 1976. There had already been many female entrepreneurs at the time of this publication. However, this was the first time that there was a paper dedicated specifically to female entrepreneurs. Fast forward 3 years later, the US published its first policy on female business owners under the Carter administration, which was titled The Bottom Line. And that has established instances of discrimination and barriers for female entrepreneurs. And as a result, the policy instituted by the Carter administration mandated that each department and the agency of the executive branch establish programs regarding management, technical, financial, and procurement assistance. In 1985, the first book on female entrepreneurs was published by Rob Goffey and Richard Skase, titled Women in Charge: The Experiences of Female Entrepreneurs. And it was a book about how far entrepreneurship has enabled female entrepreneurs to be successful in a society where there are widespread gender inequalities. What is interesting is the title in itself alludes to females not being successful in society without being an entrepreneur. Then in 1988, Ronald Reagan passed H.R. 5050, the Women's Business Ownership Act of 1988. In summary, this law made it possible for female entrepreneurs to obtain loans without the signature of a male. One may have thought that the Policy Institute under the Carter administration would have covered this, but that was not the case. There were many strides made once this act was passed, but one of the most notable historical events in female entrepreneurship occurred in 2009 when the first dedicated journal to female entrepreneurs was established, titled the International Journal of Gender and Entrepreneurship, which led to more attention to the successes, failures, fears, attitudes, motivations, and skills of entrepreneurs. Based on this quick chronological evaluation, it is quite evident that there are gender disparities just in the lack of contributions made by female entrepreneurs. It is almost as though it was not important enough to study them until the 1980s, although female entrepreneurs existed way before the first journal article was published. Next, we're going to talk about the importance of financial literacy. Well, having more people contributing towards the economy means several things. It adds to economic growth, it provides financial stability, it can reduce poverty, and it can fill in the disparities that people of color face. It equips people with the tools and skills that they need to manage money effectively and provides a way for communities to thrive. It has become a crisis in the United States. Recent studies that have been Recent studies that have been performed indicate that the US population does not fare very well when it comes to financial literacy, and the rates have become alarming. More than 77 million Americans do not pay their bills on time. 33% carry credit card debt month to month, and 41% do not have a savings account. As such, new legislation has been passed that in almost every state to incorporate financial literacy in its curriculum beginning in the 2023-2024 academic year. The premise is to begin teaching financial literacy skills early on so that better financial decisions can be made for one's future by providing financial security. And it reduces poverty. Without financial knowledge, those vulnerable to poverty face an even higher risk of remaining in poverty. Add to that in an economic setback such as COVID-19, and this could lead to an increase in poverty rather than a reduction. The literature thus far has shown that the financial crisis that the government has deemed upon the country is one of an individualistic perspective and does not expand upon the importance to female entrepreneurs. Next, we'll get to the several definitions of financial literacy that are in the academic literature. In summary, most of the literature states that financial literacy is having the skills and knowledge required to make decisions and applying those skills and knowledge to real-life situations, and having a level of numeracy skills, understanding inflation and risk. The most widely used instruments used to measure financial literacy began with the Big Three, which was an assessment created by the US in 2004 under the Health and Retirement Study, which included these three skills indicated above. In 2014, the model was expanded to include a fourth aspect, simple interest. Another instrument widely used is the Atkinson model, which includes knowledge, attitude, and behavior on a wide variety of subjects, including planning for the future, understanding how to plan for the future, and confidence levels. While it is extremely important to have a baseline for measuring financial literacy, most of the tools that are used take on an individualistic approach. These are important skills for everyone, but what else is needed specifically to female entrepreneurs? Financial literacy and female entrepreneurs. The lack of financial literacy skills is cited as being one of the biggest challenges facing female entrepreneurs, and the skills required go beyond those of the financial literacy skills required for individuals. There are several studies indicating that some of the sustainable factors for female entrepreneurs include motivation, a vision, passion, and creativity. But in terms of financial literacy skills, it has been found that knowing about invoicing, keeping receipts for tax purposes, cash flow management, setting up key performance indicators, forecasting, managing and raising money, and payroll knowledge are of vital importance to female entrepreneurs. While these skills have been documented to determine factors that female entrepreneurs should know how to run a sustainable business, and various government and private organizations provide information to assist them, there has been no evidence to specific testing for female entrepreneurs on these factors. What exists today are the financial literacy assessments for the general public. Financial literacy and the gender gap in entrepreneurship. There are various arguments in the research regarding financial literacy and the gender gap of male and female entrepreneurs. Discrimination. It has been found and well documented that female entrepreneurs tend to ask for less funding than their male counterparts. This could be attributed to the sectors most populated by female entrepreneurs, which is the service sector. It has also been well documented that women fare worse during crises such as COVID-19 pandemic and the 2008 financial crisis. In fact, the devastating impact to female entrepreneurs during COVID-19 has been coined the C-cession. Some literature indicates that females are incapable of having an equal amount of financial literacy skills than their male counterparts due to competing priorities of family obligations. And then there is additional research that indicates financial literacy skills have nothing to do with the gender gaps in female entrepreneurs versus males. Rather, the gap is related to males being more driven towards entrepreneurship, while females are more driven towards social norms, including family obligations. This is cited as the reason why there are more male entrepreneurs than female entrepreneurs. And the research goes on to indicate that all entrepreneurs are created equally. The review of the literature on gender disparities is all over the place. Women do, in fact, receive less funding and are even given higher interest rates on loans when approved. And there are more male entrepreneurs versus female entrepreneurs. Again, the same questions arise in what are the definitions for the financial literacy definitions for entrepreneurs. There are various sources available to female entrepreneurs to help close the gap, but the efficacy of these programs are unknown. So here's what we know. Female entrepreneurs have made great contributions to the economy, and that they are vital it is vital to understand their financial literacy needs in order for them to continue to grow. According to the United States Census Bureau, female entrepreneurs employed over 10 million workers and added 1.8 trillion to the US economy in 2018. And this number can grow with additional literature devoted to the topic. Financial literacy is vital in entrepreneurial survival, and the lack of financial literacy has been directly correlated to survival. Gender gaps do exist between male and female entrepreneurs, with less funding and higher interest rates from external entities compared to their male counterparts. Current measurements assessments do not address financial activities required in entrepreneurship. They typically assess personal financial literacy skills on numeracy skills, inflation, risk, and interest. And again, most of the definitions for financial literacy are individualistic in nature. And then there are so many programs being devoted to the support of female entrepreneurs, but it is unknown as to whether these programs help with the specific skills required by entrepreneurs. So to better understand the needs of female entrepreneurs, a phenomenological study will be undertaken to explore the specific needs of the specific financial literacy needs to address the gaps in existing literature to answer the research question, what does financial literacy mean to female entrepreneurs? Thank you and for your time. And if you have any questions, please email me.